Hi, my name's Elliot. I'm 23 years old. I am female to male transgender. I have not started taking testosterone, but I have started coming out to everyone in my life. I wanted my first video to be kind of talking about my coming out process and everything that it's done for me and the difficulties and benefits and the support that I've received. I started realizing that I was transgender when, I don't know, like 6 months ago. It was terrible. It was a really dark time for me. I'm typically not a person that likes to be depressed. Not that anybody likes to be depressed, but I'm typically like a really optimistic, positive, that's redundant, extroverted, happy person. And suddenly I was entering this state where I didn't want to be around people. I just wanted to be in my room. I was sad, I was stressed, I hated myself, I had a lot of guilt, I had a lot of shame. It was the worst. It was really, like, honestly, I don't think I've ever been so depressed in my life. And it reached this point where I decided to start seeking out therapy, which was sort of helpful. My therapist wasn't the best, but just having somebody to talk to was nice, because at this point, I was keeping everything bottled up inside. Eventually I decided that I was going to come out to my closest friends, and I started with one person, immediately felt a lot better. So I realized that, well, first I was like, great, I came out to one person, maybe I don't have to come out to anybody else, maybe this feeling's going to go away, but it didn't. So eventually when my stress and sadness and everything came back, I came out to another person, felt better, did it more and more and more and more until I came out to the friends that I've known since like elementary school, middle school, my childhood friends. After that, so they're states away at this point, and so at that point, like, people were in my life that I see every day still didn't know. So though I was receiving a lot of support from my friends, I couldn't really receive any support from people around me because I was scared. I moved here to Colorado less than a year ago, so all the friendships that I have with people are still relatively new, and I had no idea how they were going to react. Not to mention that they're also my coworkers. So I eventually managed to get a gender therapist, actually through the very first coworker that I came out to. She was somebody who came out to my entire school. I'm a teacher. She came out to the entire school last year, and I wanted to see her feedback on how it went. Her feedback was very negative. She told me that I should quit. I'm not going to, but she said that I should. But she gave me the name of a gender therapist. So I started seeing my gender therapist, and I kept telling her that I thought this would be so much easier if I could just medically transition. I just thought it would give me the confidence. I knew it wasn't going to fix everything, but it would at least let me know that changes are happening. So she just said, well, why can't you medically transition? I thought that I had to socially transition for like a certain amount of months before I could medically transition, but apparently that is not the case. Or some therapists want you to do it one way, and maybe other therapists want you to do it another way. So that was 2 weeks ago almost. This upcoming Tuesday I'll be getting my letter, and that's really exciting. But once I found out that T was a possibility for me, like a real possibility, that I could start as soon as school gets out, and I could transition over the summer and come back and be me, like physically be different and have my students call me something else, like, while scary and terrifying, also really exciting. So I decided that that's something that I want to do. But at the same time, I knew that with getting T, it meant that I was going to have to come out to my workplace. So last weekend, I came out to my very first coworker. I chose the coworker that I feel closest with, and I told her over brunch, after I had chickened out from telling her the night before. I had gone to her house and watched a movie, and I was going to tell her then, but I chickened out, so then I texted her when I got home saying that I had something to tell her. It seemed really stupid and juvenile, but it got the job done. And so the next day I got brunch with her and I told her, and she was incredibly supportive, and she offered to organize a dinner for me, which was last night. And she asked me who from the staff I wanted to tell personally, or outside of, like, in a separate venue from having the entire staff I know. So I invited about 7 coworkers over to her place, or she invited them over to her place. They had no idea why they were having dinner. They just thought we were hanging out, which we kind of were. And I got there last night, and she said, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "I guess so." Actually, I think I made a strange noise. I don't think I said "I guess so." I think I was like, and at first she tried to give me an in by saying, like, "What kind of stories do you have to share from this past year of teaching?" And I said, "I have none." I said, "I have nothing to share. I have no stories." And she was mad. But then she eventually was like, so there's something that Karen needs to tell you. And so I just went out. I just told them everything. I told them that I wanted them to ask me questions. I said no question was too personal. I get that that's different for every person out there, but for me, I wanted them to feel safe asking me anything and walking away feeling like they had a stronger understanding of what this meant. I told them to imagine having gained a ton of weight, or waking up and having a huge scar on their face. And when they look in the mirror, seeing this and not really recognizing that reflection to be them, because in their head, they're still 100 pounds lighter, or in their head, they don't have this disfigurement. But then realizing that this reflection that is staring back at them is the reality of the situation. That reflection is how the world perceives them. And that disconnect and that pain that you feel when you realize that who you are and how you view yourself in your head is not the way that the world sees you, is the discomfort that I feel, but with gender. When I look in the mirror and I see features that make people make the cognizant decision, conscious decision, like that is a female, that gives me like the heebie-jeebies all over. It makes me so uncomfortable. And I think that helped. I think it worked. But they were just so incredibly supportive the entire time. And they asked so many questions, and the conversation just like went in and out between talking about trans stuff and just talking about school and work and students, and then they would have a question, they would go back to it, and just the fact that it was so casual and so nonchalant just really proved to me that nothing about our dynamic was going to change. And it's just really refreshing to know that my friends aren't bigots and they aren't assholes, and even if they don't get it, like, they're trying to, and that they support me no matter what. And now when I tell my whole staff, or if somebody tells my whole staff for me, I'll at least know that I have so many coworkers there who already are there for me and are already allies. And I mean, they told me that people are going to be assholes, parents are going to suck, kids are going to say mean shit, but that's just kind of the way that life is, right? And I think it's really just all about having a support system. I would not be feeling this confident if I didn't have so many friends telling me that this is good, this is something that I want, and they can hear it in my voice, and that it's not something that I need to feel shame around. It's not something that I need to feel any self-hate or guilt around, and that this is something that's exciting. Because all the fear that I have, all the guilt, all the shame that I possess is because of society. It's not because of me. I know what I want. If I was on a deserted island, I would start tea in a heartbeat. But it's the fact that it's a big deal to the rest of the world that freaks me out. And just hearing from so many people from so many different facets of my life telling me that they support me and that they see this being a good decision for me it just makes it easier. It makes it not as big of a deal. And that's nice, because at the end of the day, I don't want this to be a big deal. I just want to be me. And this whole process is an exciting journey to becoming myself. So, there you have it. I'm coming out to everyone in my life for the second time, because the first time I just came out as a lesbian. And that didn't feel quite right. And now I know why. So, part 2, doing it again. But it's going well, and I'm learning a lot about myself, and I'm really proud of the progress that I've made. So, if you have any questions, comment below. If you want to message me with any questions, feel free to. I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm starting to be able to look at this in a positive way instead of an all-consuming doom, which is not healthy, and I don't suggest you doing. So, with that, I will leave you, and thanks for watching. Bye.